The Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast is proudly sponsored by New Vision.
My team, Conda, power. I love the power. I love the power.
G'day everyone, Macca 19 here, and this is the Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast, coming to you live once again on Port Fan Radio. And look, tonight everyone's favourite co-host is back. Rick, how you going, buddy?
Oh, that's not true, Macca. Disliked co-host. Very good, mate, except for...
I'm just trying to make you feel better, that's all.
Disgraced. What a disgrace that cricket score is. Is that shameful?
It's pretty bad.
I said to my son, this is like us losing to Brisbane. That's how the score is.
Yeah, this is probably worse, to be honest. This is pretty bad.
It is pretty bad.
Unbelievable. And we are also speaking with MrSpeaker.
G'day, how's it going?
Pretty good. I'm feeling better than how the cricket's going at the moment.
Yeah, me too.
This is a football podcast, so let's concentrate on the footy. Restaurant Revolution is on instead. I'm not watching the cricket. Let's go.
We've got a lot of cricket followers on our footy podcast, though, so I'm sure we can drop in a little abysmal reference of how our cricket team's faring.
Indeed, absolutely. Well, Rick, we didn't get to hear from you Monday night. Do you want to tell us about your experience on Sunday being a massive tosser?
Yes, it was. I've heard that quite a bit. The salmon shirt was quite controversial as well, apparently. But
was it salmon?
No,
I thought it was more rose, personally. But
no, it was. I can see the rose, but no, it was
a lovely hint of lilac. It was good.
Yes, it was a nice salmon top. You know, it's my old trusty. I might have to get a new one soon. But no, it was great. We obviously I won a charity auction, and so part of that was they threw in a couple of tickets to the Before the Bounce, and which was very kind of them. And look, I've got to say, I thought the club was fantastic with accommodating me, like, you know, because I won the auction supporting Food Bank at one of their functions. So I had two seats at the Food Bank table before the bounce, and so spoke with some of the Food Bank reps and had a bit of a chat there and met some nice people and spoke to Richard Kelly and Jasmine, one of the organisers, and so she escorted myself down with Byron Pickett and Gavin Wanganeen. So we were just sort of having a chat on the way to the ground and just revving the boys up, saying, "What's the chances of you coming out and pulling the boots on and having a run?" And that was pretty unlikely. And so went on the ground, and that was a great experience. It was a little bit surreal, and met the legend of Nicky Wimar as well. I always remember as a teenager, I thought he was a fantastic player. Loved watching him play, and you know, I thought St Kilda had a great side back then in the early 90s with Plugger and Stuart Lowe. So asked him a few questions about them and Robert Harvey, and got out to the middle of the oval, and it was quite interesting because a few people made reference that they said my name and the business, New Vision, over the PA, but I actually didn't hear it out in the middle of the oval. So
you had your game face on, Rick.
I was concentrating. No, honestly, it was just sort of the reverb of the noise. You couldn't really hear the PA system. So it was good. I met Shane McInerney, the umpire, a nice fella. Hate to say it, and and then the funny part was sort of after I did the coin toss. No one really told me what I was supposed to do. It was sort of a bit disjointed. So I'm standing next to you got Gavin Wanganeen, Byron Pickett, and Nicky Wimar. And I'm just standing next to him, and the St Kilda players are all lined up in a row, and I'm thinking, obviously we're just waiting for these guys to walk past before we walk off the ground, and then all of a sudden it's like, hang on here, I reckon something's odd coming on. I think they're going to shake hands, and I'm like, well, what do I do? Do I just tack in at the end of the line here and shake all their hands? And then I thought, no, I'm not Aboriginal to start with, and I'm not a former AFL player, so I took a couple of steps back and just watched them all go by. But I guess I could have been cheeky and probably just joined in at the back of the queue there and got a handshake, and then they threw in for good measure. I got to go into the change rooms and watch the boys cool down and sing the song, and it was a good day.
It does sound
Sounds
good.
awesome.
It was.
Sounds
It was.
fantastic.
Good. I'm with you though. After experiencing before the bounce, it was probably the last corporate area that I haven't been to.
Yep.
I definitely. I do think the RAA lounge is probably the pick of the corporate boxes for those that want to do the corporate boxes sort of facilities. I reckon, that's probably the pick of them.
Mm. So what sort of coin did you use?
I used a 50-cent piece.
Oh. Did you remember it, or did someone have to?
No. I
remembered
remembered I remember the coin. I remembered. I think it was Richard Kelly saying, "No, don't forget a coin." I was like,
That
"Oh,
could
we've
have
got
been
to
disastrous,
provide her."
couldn't it?
Well, he reckons it's happened before.
Did you have a backup? Did
Which
you have a backup coin?
No, I'm a risk taker, mate. I only took one out with me.
Oh,
But
You're brave.
actually,
flying by the seat of your pants, mate.
my guest actually said he was surprised that we have to bring our own coin, and he thought, and I thought it was a good suggestion. I actually emailed KT afterwards about it, and he said he's surprised the club didn't have like a commemorative coin that they give the person who tosses it. And I thought that was a great idea. Obviously, I'm sure it wouldn't cost the club that much money to do something, and it could have a.
Well, we can probably afford it now.
Hey.
We can probably afford it now.
Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't have been able to afford giving away 50 cents before, so.
Then we could
Yeah,
officially
that's-
say that Rick's a tosser as well. So
Yes.
Yeah, and I'd have proof because
Yeah.
I'd have a commemorative coin.
That's it.
But they could have a coin with a power logo and a magpie logo on there, and I think some of the people that come out there would really appreciate it. It'd be a good little memorabilia piece. So, it'd be interesting to see if that maybe changes.
Indeed. Oh, well, that's good. That sounds like a fantastic experience.
It was. If you can get if you're lucky enough to be able to get an opportunity, absolutely jump at it. And it was a business sort of transaction for me. So, it cost me $950, but and I know a lot of people maybe couldn't afford that, but I think for what it gave in terms of experience, it was it was a priceless sort of experience, really.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, well, the Australians are out, so that's the end of the cricket for 2015. And let's talk about the game this Saturday. It's Port versus Western Bulldogs. We're playing at Etihad Stadium. It's an afternoon game. We've got a 13-11 win-loss record, and of course, last time we met was in round 10, 38-point victory at Adelaide Oval. I guess the first question I've got is what has happened to both teams since round 10?
well, round 10, I don't know, we've sort of been a bit up and down. I think we probably capitulated. Was Carlton 2 weeks after that?
It was, yeah.
Okay, well, we kind of capitulated before and after that then. I don't know, we're just the same up and down team as we were then, I reckon.
Yeah.
As for them,
we lost 4 out of 5 games after that match, and really sort of fell in a hole. Whereas the Dogs have won 6 of 7, and the only loss they've had was 8 points to Geelong. So
And
right
who are
now
they-
they're one of the
who are
form
they-
teams in the competition.
And who are they beaten? Brisbane,
They've
Gold Coast, St Kilda, basically the bottom
Collingwood.
6 sides. Collingwood, right?
Essendon,
So
yeah.
what have they done out of 6 of those 7? They did what we couldn't do, where they beat the opposition that were inferior to them on the table.
Yep.
And if we won those 3 games that we talk about often, Brisbane, Carlton, and the Crows, which we probably should have won, we'd be in a completely different scenario for our season at this point in
Indeed,
time.
absolutely.
that's probably the difference between both of our sides. They've done what we haven't been able to do and beat the weaker teams around us.
Indeed. They have beaten some decent teams. They started the year beating West Coast, Richmond, Adelaide and Sydney. So they do have some good form behind them with some better sides. So, they're looking pretty good right now. And you would think they'll make the finals from here. And, it's been a good turnaround for the Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, they're pretty much us in 2013, except arguably going to do better. So.
Well, they're exciting, aren't they? And you're right. And they've sort of come from the clouds. I wasn't expecting the Bulldogs to be as prominent as what they are come this time of the season. So
I don't know if Bulldog supporters thought it was going to happen like that either, really.
No.
Wouldn't have thought.
No, you probably thought it might have been maybe another sort of 12 or 18 months away from them sort of coming good like this, with a new coach as well. But, it really does sort of bring back memories of when Kenny Hinkley started at Port and just that sort of real freshness and, very young side and, everyone's sort of playing for each other at the moment.
No, it was bloody exciting, wasn't it?
I guess the question is that people compare the Bulldogs to Port Adelaide and say, well, they play similar to what we were playing. But I guess what are they doing that's more successful than what we're doing at the moment? If they're playing a similar game plan to us, how come they're doing it better than what we are?
I think they're just a bit tougher around the ball. I think their forward line's working exceptionally well. And their defence, which is probably a bit no-name, it's probably a bit of an unheralded back line. They're really working hard for each other. And, they've got everyone fit and firing. Obviously, they've lost Liberatore for the year and, they've had the odd injury here and there as well. But, outside of that, they're fit, they're young, they're playing for each other. They've got good skills. I think that's a very important part of what's going on between both clubs as well. And, they're playing some decent footy. So I think it's going to be a pretty interesting game. And, I guess my first thought about this is we're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see it being a blowout either way. I'd have thought either we just scrape by with a win or we sort of lose fairly closely. I mean, on paper, I think we match up reasonably well. I mean, you did say that their backline's a bit no-name, but I mean, I'm not sure how Easton Wood's going now, but he was certainly touted as a potential All-Australian earlier in the year. And while I don't think they have anyone that can play on Wingard and shut him down, that's not really saying much since nobody seems to have anyone that can do that.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the area that we really need to win is in the forward line. Because I think sort of if you've got those two sort of really strong attacking sides, obviously you want to play good defense, but it comes down to how much you score. Whoever can score better this week, I think, will probably win. But
yeah, on face value, it looks like a bit of a shootout. So that looks like it should be a pretty entertaining game. But I guess the concern is that if our forward line doesn't fire this week, which that's happened a few times so far this year, I think there is the capability of us losing by 8 to 10 goals if things don't go our way.
Stop being so pessimistic, Macca. I think we're getting our mojo back. To be honest, we might be leaving it a little bit too late, but I mean, the other key player is Bontempelli. Is he playing this week? Because he missed the last time we played.
He is.
And I mean, he's a gun, and I don't really care about watching opposition players too much, but he's one player that sort of intrigues me. And every time we talk about him, I always make reference to Mish when he was on the podcast saying how he would have loved Bontempelli at Port Adelaide. So he always sticks out to me. That guy. He's a gun player already, and he's going to be a fantastic player in the AFL system. But I think I'm confident of us playing a team that wants to play us at our own game, and I think we're better at it than what the opposition are. So I think that's a positive for us. And I just think St Kilda obviously weren't much chop, but what I've seen over the last few weeks, and even against Adelaide, even though we lost the game, we're moving in an upward trajectory with our game style, and I'm very optimistic that we'll do quite well this week.
Yeah. we'll talk about the teams. For the Dogs, Sam Daly's come in for his first game for 2015. They've brought back in Lin Jong as well. And they've lost Robert Murphy, which is a big loss. He's arguably in All-Australian form as well. So that's a massive loss for them and a big bonus for us. And obviously we're missing Ollie Wines with his shoulder reconstruction. And we've brought back Jarman Impey, which obviously isn't like for like, but will add a lot more pace to our side.
What about an extended bench?
No, we've got the Sandville game at the same time as the AFL one.
No extended bench.
So no extended bench.
It's a Saturday game, so there's no extended bench.
So no emergencies or anything?
Darcy Burne-Jones is flying over. And then I think Amon and Jonas are the other ones, but they'll be in Adelaide, probably.
Yeah.
No, so Arch didn't get a look in at all?
Oop.
No.
No?
No.
It's a bit of a shame. I like the suggestion of Arch. Yeah.
I guess it's horses for courses this week. The Dogs are a super quick side, so I have no qualms with us bringing in a very quick player like Impey.
Yeah, and he did well at Etihad against Essendon. I thought he wasn't horrendous there, so it should suit his speed.
Mm.
Absolutely. Well, I want to talk about the Dogs forward line because that's where it's arguably going to be won, and we might as well talk about them one by one because they've got a very, very interesting forward line. Obviously, Jake String is probably the key at the moment. He's tall, he's quick, he's strong, he's got a bit of aggro about him, he's young. He's kicked 16 goals in the 7 games since the Adelaide Oval match. He had quite a few opponents that night. He kicked 2 goals. I think Cleary, Homsch, Jonas and Stewart all played on him. For me, I'm guessing Homsch will probably get the job.
How tall is he? Is he 193?
Yeah, 192.
He's not a big monster. I think he's... What is he? Yeah, 192.
Yeah.
You would think that Homsch is the natural matchup, wouldn't you? He's probably got the height and the ability, or would maybe Tom Cleary go on him?
Well, Cleary's probably the next...
Cleary goes on Cramery.
Yeah.
Mm.
They'll probably swap and change. I mean, Stringer and Cramery are almost identical in terms of sort of body shape and size and speed and all that sort of stuff. So you would think they'll swap and change with each other. And Cramery's coming off arguably his 2 best games for the Dogs. He had 20-2 versus Collingwood and kicked 7 last week against the Bombers. So he's got the tank of a midfielder, and maybe Cleary might be the better match there with his good endurance as well.
Well, they're both probably too nimble for Jackson, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, Jackson will probably get Jack Redpath, who's a bit taller, a bit bigger, a bit stronger. So, probably things haven't really clicked for Jack Redpath yet.
I've honestly never heard of him, to be honest.
He's sort of like a big lump. He's a big, huge brick shithouse, really. But he's sort of he's a bit of a poor kick for goal. He hasn't really sort of kicked many goals so far, and his kicking can be a little bit wayward, but. It would certainly be a very Port Adelaide thing for us to come out there and Jack Redpath kick 4 goals in a breakout performance.
Positivity, Macca, positivity. What about their small forwards?
Small forwards, well, I mean, they'd probably move a few players through there. I think Charlie Dixon's probably the main one. He's arguably the most underrated or quite possibly the least talked about player in the league. And, for someone that's kicked 34 goals this year, he's kicked 11 goals in the last 3 weeks. So he's in absolutely massive form, and you just don't really hear anything about him. He's quite pacey, he's got good skills. He's probably a similar sort of player to Gus Monfries, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's no Chad Wingard, though, is he?
No, nobody's Chad Wingard.
34 goals for a year for a guy that, I'm sure a lot of people didn't even realise he was still on an AFL list at the start of the year. So, he's good on him. He's had a great season, and they rotate a few other sort of players through there. Caleb Daniel, the really short fella from South Australia, he's had a pretty good start to his career. Jared Grant's another one who's pretty tall. He's 192 centimetres, but he's got the pace and the sort of agility of a small. And obviously, sort of Luke Dalhouse rests up forward as well when he can kick goals.
Lukey Dalhouse, he's the dreadlocks guy, isn't he?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. No. But he had the dreadlocks.
He did.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always a season or 2 behind these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was a nippy small player, and I like the Caleb Daniel story. I reckon that's a great story, that one.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to actually getting to watch him because he's someone that I played a bit of footy with and played a bit of cricket with a couple of years ago. So I haven't had much of a chance to actually see how he's got on the AFL, but I've seen that his stats are pretty good. So
Yeah.
It's you're right though. It's so much of a Port Adelaide 2013 story, isn't it? Because it's not. You can't hate the Western Bulldogs, can you? Really?
no, it's very hard.
And it's like, to quote Gerard Whateley, it's that feel good story. And if they do knock us off, they're probably the team you want to follow through the finals and hope they can do well.
Yeah, pretty much. The good news
As long
story
as Will
this year.
Minson, as long as Will Minson isn't playing.
Yeah. Well, he's not at the moment, so that's a bonus, I guess.
Yeah.
How many
So how
games
do we
has he
think the
even played?
midfield, Will Minson?
Yeah, he's only played a handful of games this year, hasn't he?
Yeah, he hasn't played many. He came back in after his him hitting the umpire or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
The big sob story about how it might be the end of his career, so he ended up getting selected and played a couple of token games, I think, and they brought Tom Campbell back in, so he's leading their ruck at the moment.
Right.
Mm.
The midfield battle should be pretty interesting. Who do we think will go to the likes of Robbie Gray and Travis Boak?
I would have thought Picken would be going with Boak to start with. I don't know. I honestly haven't actually watched much of the Bulldogs this year, which is kind of disappointing, but
Yep.
I don't know. I thought Picken had probably been a bit sort of freer than he had been in the past couple of years when he was mainly tagging, but I would have thought if you want to shut down somebody, it's not going to be Robbie Gray because it's proving to be too hard to do. You'd probably send your best run-with player to Boak.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I
for
would
you
think
guys.
I would think maybe Mitch Wallace will go to Boak and they'll put Picken on Robbie Gray.
Right.
But that's what you guys were talking about on Monday, wasn't it? That you can't really. It's almost impossible to tag Robbie Gray, so you go for the next best thing and try and take Travis Boak out of the game instead.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible we might see someone like Wallace go on Ebert. I think he played on Ebert in the first match this year, so it's quite possible we'll see that sort of matchup. And they've got Kobe Stevens, who can sometimes do a bit of a defensive job as well.
Mm. Well, if they're going to be so defensive, how are they going to win the game? They need to have some offensive aspects to their midfield as well, I would imagine.
Well, the good thing about Wallace and Picken from their point of view is that they both get, plus 20 possessions per game and do a good defensive job. So, they're very well-rounded footballers in that regard.
It's actually an interesting point because it sort of answers the question that I was asking before. What are they doing better than us if they're playing a similar game? And I've only seen a handful of their games, but the ones I have seen is their defensive aspects of their midfield, especially, seem to be a little bit more stronger than what ours are this year.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a fair point. That's a fair call.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I
as I
still-
said before, they've got quite an unheralded defence. They've got Michael Talia back here. He's had a pretty good season. He'll probably go to Jay Schultz. Easton Wood, you would think, will go on maybe either Westhoff or Ryder. Dale Morris will probably take the other. Matthew Boyd, obviously, he had a fantastic career as a midfielder. He's gone back and has been playing in the back line, has had a super season as well. So, and they'll probably have Jason Johansson go up against Chad Wingard, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is there the possibility that we can maybe stretch them a bit in terms of height in our forward line? Because, I mean, you're always going to have a hard time of matching up like all three of our tolls up forward, especially with Ryder and Westhoff essentially being ruckman, or ruck size.
Well, I hope we make Eastonwood more accountable this game because I don't know if you guys remember Adelaide Oval, but he was like the intercept king that game. I mean, anything long down the line, he was just floating in third man up all by himself, just chopping through or chopping off anything. So we really need to sort of make him a bit more accountable and not let him be that third man up loose role, so to speak.
Absolutely. And look, Westhoff had a massive game at Adelaide Oval. He had something like 25 touches and 14 marks, so he really dominated that night. Jay Schultz, he had a bit of a quiet one. He kicked 2 goals. And, of course, Paddy Ryder didn't play. So, hopefully we will be able to stretch their defence. I mean, Morris and Wood aren't the tallest sort of defenders going around, and neither's Michael Talia either. So, hopefully we can see someone like Paddy Ryder take a few grabs and hopefully get his radar back this week.
Yeah, he seems to have been in pretty good form. It's just his set shot kicking is a bit dodgy.
Yeah, hopefully he relaxes a little bit and he'll be in a more comfortable environment over there. I guess a more familiar environment. So hopefully that gives him a bit of confidence. But yeah, I'm with you there. I reckon we might be able to stretch him with Westhoff, Ryder, and Schultz up forward. I think that's going to be a hard match up for them, and hopefully Lobie can continue his form from last week, where his ruck work was a lot better at the stoppages, and also he took a couple of marks, Macca.
He did, yep, absolutely. For the second week running, I think he took 2 marks, so a big improvement there.
And what do you guys think about Hamish Hartlett saying that he's enjoying the halfback flank, but if he needs to fill in for Ollie in the midfield, he will do that? Do you think we will take him away from the halfback flank and play him more in the midfield, or will we maybe keep him there and play Broady more in the midfield to replace Ollie?
I'm a bit undecided on that one. I've quite liked Hamish off the halfback flank, and I was looking at his profile on the Port website today. I always thought of him as sort of one of our stronger bodies through the middle, but he's only 80 kilos according to the Port website. So, I mean, we've got Young and Moore in. I would have thought you'd probably keep Hartlett playing the role that he has been and occasionally maybe rotating through the middle. But
yeah, I'd keep both Hartlett and Broadbent down back, and maybe if things are going south, then maybe throw Hartlett in there. But outside of that, I'd keep him on a back flank.
So is this the opportunity, like if you're the coach, you're Ken Hinkley, you'd be eyeballing Young and Moore and saying, boys, this is your time. This is your opportunity to stand up and deliver?
Definitely.
Well,
absolutely.
Hopefully you're saying that every week.
Yeah, that's it. But no doubt, I mean, this is their chance. Wines is out of the side once again, and I guess when that happened at the start of the season, Youngie had a few really good games, so hopefully he can continue that. And look, Andrew Moore has had a couple of good games on the trot now, so hopefully he can continue that as well. And I guess his future at AFL level still isn't guaranteed, so he really needs to pull out old stops and make himself attractive, whether it's for a new contract or maybe for a trade.
Yeah.
Well, we know that our mate Finbar finds Morey very attractive. He's always on the forums defending Morey at any opportunity.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Obviously, he's one of those players that you just hope that his SANFL form can one day, get done at AFL level, and he can become that sort of dominating sort of 20, 25 touches, couple of goal a game midfielder that he is at SANFL level.
Well, I'm one of those supporters where I don't care about the SANFL level, what he does there. I'm one of those supporters that just wants to be justified that he was worth being selected with pick 9.
Yeah, well, that too.
so it wasn't a complete waste of a pick.
No, we got out. Yeah. What pick was Jasper taken with?
16.
Did that come from the Burgoyne?
It did.
No, we got 8. Didn't we get 8 and 9 for Burgoyne?
No.
Well,
we had one of them. We had one of 8 or 9 already, and I think we got 9 and 16 for Burgoyne. So.
Well, Jasper easily repays that, then I reckon. Jasper's a great player.
Of course he is. He's the best player in the AFL, young Jasper.
Look, there's no room for suckholing here on this podcast. Thank you very much.
MrSpeaker just wants to be invited back any opportunity.
I just love Jasper Pittard. Big fan.
Yeah, Jasper's a legend. How did you find his game back last week?
I thought we were pretty harsh on him, Macca. I thought he was pretty good.
What do you mean
I thought
Macca
he
was
had-
pretty harsh? I missed this. What happened?
I gave him a 4 out of 10, was it? I think.
I think
Fair
so,
dinkum.
4 out of 10. Below
Fair
average.
enough.
He was below average. He made a number
game-
of mistakes and
what
ran
game were
himself
you
into
watching?
trouble. Mate, you were too busy pissing on with the bloody coin to worry about watching the game.
I was trying to flick it to you. I heard you needed some money to help buy another beer.
That's true. I did. Well, I guess the other thing to talk about is the news that, there's a bit of a strong rumour going around by a couple of journos that Charlie Dixon wants to come to Port Adelaide. He's sort of earmarked a return to being coached under Ken Hinkley. And how do we see that? Is that something that might happen, or do we think that's sort of pie in the sky stuff?
Who announced this? Was it Damien Barrett?
It was not
No,
Damien
it was
Barrett.
Slam and Sam
Thank God.
McClure that did that.
Thank God for that, because if it was Damien Barrett, it would have no credibility whatsoever.
No, Damien Barrett will announce it in 3 weeks' time.
Damien
Once
Barrett will
he
announce
signed
that
the
he's
deal.
going to bloody
Once
Adelaide.
every other
or something.
journo's already sort of ran with it.
Well, is this why maybe we're potentially lowballing Jay Schultz's contract, knowing that maybe we've got someone else lined up?
I'd like to think so. I mean, I know that Jay's done a lot for our club, but he's getting on a bit, and I think if you offer him more than a sort of 1 year deal on reasonable coin, you're probably putting a bit too much on it. I mean, perfect world, you keep Schultz and you get Dixon, but I don't know what our salary cap's like. I don't know if anyone that's speculating about it really does, but if there is that kind of salary cap pressure, I'd be more than happy to sort of let Schultz go to wherever he wants to go and get Dixon in.
Yeah.
I
I think we're legally paying over the salary cap this year. So we're paying more than what the cap actually is. And I think we're allowed to do that next year as well before we have to get back in line. So I think there's probably going to be room in the salary cap for a bit of a play to be made to a bit of a key player. Because if you look at who we've still got or who we've got contracted, I mean, all our key players are pretty much contracted at the moment. It's only really Schultz, Mason Shaw, and I think Andrew Moore or Aaron Young that are uncontracted at the moment. So, in that regard, we've signed up everyone that we really need to sign up. We're going to have Carlisle going onto the vets list next year. Boat, Gray, Westhoff the year after that. We're going to be losing Kane Corn's salary. Most definitely Johnny Butcher's as well. I mean, there's going to be space there for us to offer, a player maybe 500 grand for next year, and then sort of significantly more money after that as well. So, I don't think we're in any sort of cap danger at this point.
How
Get
old's
it done
Charlie
then.
Dixon?
25 in September.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a great age. Look, I'm very bullish on getting him. I do think though, if we're going to have this big lumbering full forward type player, is it going to make REH happy, and is he going to be? Are we going to play a game plan where we sort of leave a forward more at home and play maybe a longer direct game plan?
Well, I don't think he is a big lumbering sort of forward. I think he's more of a sort of... He's got sort of Westhoff's agility and speed, and he might be a bit stronger than the Hoff is. So he'll certainly add something a bit different. And I don't know.
Do you know what
It would
would
be interesting to see what sort of trade would have to get it done, I guess.
It would be interesting to see if we actually trim him down, or if he keeps his size. I know that's what Ford Fairlane would be wondering. Ford will be out there on the training track with the measuring tape, checking the biceps and the chest measurements when he flies over, and then he'll want to check at the end of the pre-season to make sure he hasn't been reduced to a typical Port Adelaide player.
That's it. So what sort of deal do you think can get this done? Obviously, I think the AFL released today that the ability to trade future draft picks will be going ahead this year. So can we maybe see something like a first-round pick next year being offered up for trade?
Yeah, well, I was sort of having a bit of a think earlier, just to myself. I was thinking either it's going to be a first-round pick this year or maybe a second round pick this year and next year's first round pick. But I mean, it's hard to judge. It's hard to guess how clubs will judge sort of a future first round pick, because I mean, I would have thought sort of you don't know just how high it's going to be, so you'd probably place it somewhere between a current first round, like a current year's first round pick, and a current year's second round pick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if we did go down that path of using a future pick, I wouldn't be disappointed. I think it'd probably be quite good, because I'd like us to stay in the first round this year.
Yeah, I agree. If we could keep this year's first rounder and trade off next year's, because I think we're going to have a lot better year next year than what we did this year. I think that would be a gamble worth playing with, and I'd be happy
I think we definitely need to keep this year's first round pick. We didn't have a first or a second round pick last year, so I think to keep some sort of quality kids coming through, I think that's a necessity for this season.
Absolutely. I mean, if we're getting pick 8 or 9, we should be able to get a reasonably good player, hopefully, if our selection committee's improved its drafting since 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Well, here you go, Rick. Here's a trade thing that I put on Big Footy. Would you trade Matty Lobe for Charlie Dixon?
I would fly Matthew Lober to the airport.
Do we get Matthew Warnock as well?
Matthew Warnock? That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Is that Matthew? I don't know. What's his name? Robbie Warnock.
Robbie?
You just spoiled my joke. You know what I meant.
Well, I don't, because Matthew Warnock played for Gold Coast, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, there's 2 Warnocks, whatever. Who cares? Good on you, smartass. Yeah, or probably. I'd probably do that, but we would need another ruckman in some capacity. That's what I mean.
That's what
Robbie
Dixon
Warnock
would be there for.
For our ruck?
Well, we could have Ryder as main ruck, and then they can sort of swap halfway. And then we've still got Redden on the list, Billy Frampton coming through. It would be a risk, but it might be a risk worth taking.
Yeah, I would probably do that. Did you pose that just for me?
I'll put it on the board.
And
had some interesting responses. Oh, mixed views, I think. I think some sort of said, yep, do it. Others said, no, it's probably not going to happen. So,
not going to happen? Would you do it?
I would do it, absolutely. I'm the one that put it on the board. So
I thought you might have been devil's advocate, not saying you want to do it, but would this be a deal worth doing?
I think it would be. I think it would be a risk worth taking, in that way we don't have to give up a first round pick, because you wouldn't be giving up Lobe plus a first round pick for Dixon. You'd give up maybe Lobe and then maybe swapping sort of later picks or something like that. So
I'd probably.
I think it would be a risk worth doing. Is it a legitimate chance of happening? I think there's probably 1% chance of that trade happening.
I don't think it would happen. But...
No, it's the same as our talk of trading Hartlett. It might be it's just pie in the sky stuff, but it's an interesting discussion anyway. So
I think the future pick.
You go.
No, I was just going to say I think the future pick would probably be the most logical way of going about it. And I mean, he's had his indiscretions, so. Maybe Gold Coast are willing to offload some of the troublemakers, which might be creating some disharmony in their roster.
Look, there's plenty of fine wine regions in South Australia, so I'm sure he'll be happy here.
Definitely. I was going to say, sort of about dollar value. I mean, I know you don't usually get contracts anymore that are the same amount every year, but on average, what do you think it's worth paying him? I would have thought sort of the money that's been floated around has been like 750, 800, and I think that'd be wildly overpaying him.
I would have thought 500 would be reasonable.
Yeah,
for what he represents. Are they still doing performance-based contracts like they used to in the past, or is that not as much? Is it just more a set wage these days?
Probably not for a player like Dixon.
What's that? 500.
No, like a performance based. So you generally do that for guys that you want to sort of give a kick up the arse, I think. But I don't know, maybe sort of 650. I would think,
Yeah.
as an average rate. You know,
I
get
was
him here
thinking-
for 4 years on, you know, a $2.2 million contract or something. That'd be right.
So how many goals did he kick this year?
30s,
35,
32 or something.
Something like
How
that.
many games?
12.
11.
So he's averaging nearly 3 goals a game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going pretty well. I mean,
It's not bad.
he's
Had a good
not
year.
he's not a top level key forward yet, but he's 25. He's had injury issues. I mean, I suppose that's one other thing to take into account. I don't think he's played more than 14 games in a season yet. He's been
No,
around
that's
for
right.
5 years.
Yeah.
Well, we just need that big monster type forward, don't we? We're sort of lacking that man down there that's got that massive physical presence that can really push off the defenders. So, I mean, he sort of represents that. So, yeah, if he can take his game even to another level, and we can deliver a game plan which is going to sort of maximise the returns that he can provide us, well then, yeah, I think it's definitely a risk worth taking.
Yeah.
And it sort of solves all our problems. We're all sort of a bit concerned about our forward line at the moment, how we've got, you know, a bunch of sort of 30-year-olds, and then there's not much really underneath that with any sort of certainty. So, you know, to get a mid-20s key forward who we know can kick goals, is a match winner, can kick a bag of goals, can go in the ruck, I mean, that's just the perfect pickup for where we are right now.
Yeah, I am very, very excited, but hesitant to sort of pay much credence to the rumour.
I don't know. It seems to be getting a bit of momentum, so fingers crossed. I think it's more realistic than Bennell coming to Port Adelaide, but that'd be nice.
Yeah, I had a nice idea. Just sort of package up all of our draft picks from this year and next year and get Bennell and Dixon.
Would you do that?
Oh, probably not.
Every
but-
single draft pick, yeah.
For the next 2 years, here, have them.
Yeah, just here you go.
Well, I mean, really,
Take
if you had those two players, or if we have those, I mean, it's not going to happen. But if we did get those two players, I mean, there's no excuses with our list, really, is there?
Oh, you'd be premiership favourite next year if we got
you'd have
Dixon
to
and
think
Bennell.
so.
A quality
But,
midfielder,
you know.
a key power forward. You know, there would be no excuse why we couldn't push hard. I would have thought.
Well, let's not talk about silly things like that, because that's about 0.5% chance of happening. So.
It gives
Back to the game. Who's going to win this week?
Port by 15 points.
Okay. Rick?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Port Adelaide. I reckon we might win by 4 goals, and I think Macca, you're going to give Jasper 10 out of 10 this week. He's going to be best on ground.
I hope
He's
so.
gonna be
That'd be great.
He's going to be so influential, and Chad Wingard's going to kick 2 goals in every quarter, and to have people raving about how he's kicked 27 goals in out of 31 quarters and how great a player he is.
I think I would
Actually,
fab myself to death if he kicks 2 goals a quarter. That'll be entertaining.
Absolutely.
Who for? You.
I don't know, everyone.
And just to kill the
Well, I
fat
mean,
fest, I'm
gotta
going to
say-
pick the
I've
Dogs
gotta
by
say, though-
58 points.
What was that? Dogs by 58.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just
mean-
ignore that one.
I missed the show on Monday, but I mean, honestly, how good's he going? The Chad.
Oh, he's amazing.
He's
I don't know.
taken his game up from his All Australian year, hasn't he, to another level?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't
He's
know.
definitely better this year than he was in 13, and he's just having a master season, and you know, hopefully there's a bit more to come, and he can maybe reach the 50 goal mark or something like that.
It's just a shame that he came from a long way back with his knee injury, which really probably thwarted the start of his season from where he could get to. But obviously now he's key fitness and form, and it's just amazing. And I guess, you know, as a biased Port supporter, you're talking about faffing away there, and I get annoyed with the media and their continual love for Cyril Rioli and what he is. or what they think he is, and then you got poor old Chad that, I personally think is better, and the stats say that he's better, and his influence says that he's better, and he just does not get that same recognition, and it's just really, really annoying. It's what was the comment someone posted yesterday about, so you want Jake Mead to average 10 to 15 disposals, kick a goal, and have a few tackles, and I said, so you want him to be like Cyril Rioli then?
Well, essentially.
Yeah, basically. So hopefully Chad just, marquee game, steps up again. I know he will. He loves it, loves the pressure, loves being the centre, and hopefully he raises it again to another level, and he'll be exciting to watch on Saturday, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. One question on that topic. I'm obviously not quite as aged as you guys. I was wondering if you had to make a comparison between him and sort of any player in the past, who would it be? Because I can't really think of one personally.
Player of the past. I think
probably Ackermanis.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of early career, or maybe sort of early to mid-career Ackermanis. Yeah, he's got that X factor. He can go through the middle.
He was a wingman though. And Ackermanis had more blistering speed, and I think he was a little bit cleaner on his left and right foot. I mean, really, Ackermanis was very. Hey?
The wing guard.
Yeah, I reckon.
Oh, probably on his wrong side, I would say. Yeah.
On both sides. I think Chad is has more flair with his left-hand side, his natural side, than what Ackermanis did. But, I mean, Ackermanis was a great player, very underrated because of his attitude, I think, by us. But
I think he was underrated?
I think so, a little bit. When you compared to your Simon Black and Michael Voss, and then because he was also an annoying prat, I think that probably worked against him a little bit as well. But, I mean, I can see the comparisons like with Wanganeen, with the freakish talent that he's got and his overhead marking ability as well as his just natural ball reading ability. I think there is a bit of a close linkage there between those two players, but I guess their body shape and their mechanics of how they move looks appearance-wise a bit different. But I think their overhead to their groundwork to their actual delivery of skill, I think, to me, there's a good correlation there.
Yeah, fair call.
Yeah, he would be the closest sort of matchup, I would think. I can't really think of anyone that's even sort of similar, to be honest, off the top of my head.
Yeah, fair enough.
Bit of Wanganeen about him.
He has got a bit of Wanganeen about him. But still, there's a lot of difference to between the two players to argue that, Rick, you're on crack there nowhere.
I mean, Nathan Brown was probably a similar player, just without the X factor of Chad Wingard.
Yeah,
in terms of the ability to go through the midfield and play sort of as a forward and kick a bag of goals. I mean, they were both sort of pretty similar.
Hopefully, Chad doesn't follow in the same path as Nathan.
Yes.
That leg break.
It's a good call.
It's disgusting things I've ever seen on the football field.
Yes, not good.
No.
Well, look, the other games this round are pretty interesting. I mean, it's really going to sort of shape the finals, you would think. I mean, the Crows go up against Richmond. Obviously, Brisbane and Gold Coast, that's a game to watch this week. West Coast Hawthorn, Geelong, Sydney. I mean, there's a lot of decent games, a lot of games which should sort of shape the finals and who might even finish top four.
So, is this the game that Richmond wins, or is this the game that Richmond would generally lose?
Primetime Adelaide Crows, they often win these games, so I reckon I might be picking the Crows this week.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got my tip currently as Richmond, but it was a sort of 60-40 as to who I'd pick. I don't know, maybe I'm just biased and I'm tipping Richmond for that reason, but yeah, it should be a good game.
It'll be a close game. The Crows always deliver on on primetime footy, sort of like either Friday night or Saturday night. I reckon they always come and they always deliver. So they either usually win or they have a very, very close loss. So I don't know. It's a bit of a toss of the coin. I reckon Adelaide at home, they might just get over the line. And if they do, I mean, that would probably spell the end of sort of Richmond's chances for a top 4 spot.
Well, to me, this is the sort of game where I think Richmond's almost a lock to win it, which means they're probably going to drop it.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough.
But I mean,
West Coast and Hawthorn?
Yeah, you'd have to go West Coast over there.
Who did I tip? Sorry. I have got my tip with West Coast. Yeah, I suppose playing over there, and with Hawthorn's pretty poor loss last week. I don't know. It's another 50-50 game, really.
I've actually got Hawthorn. I did the ladder predictor, and I've got Hawthorn finishing 5th.
Yeah.
Hawthorn
rarely lose 2 in a row. I mean, it's going to be hard to tip against them.
Well, I reckon West Coast will do them. I mean, West Coast are flying, and then I've got Hawthorn losing to us. And, I've got them dropping out of the top 4.
I guess the other main one is Geelong and Sydney.
No, that's Sydney easy, I reckon. Geelong aren't that good.
Yeah, it's Simmons Stadium, though.
No, it doesn't matter. Sydney are a professional outfit. I think they're too good for Geelong now with missing Stevie J. So that's going to hurt them. I think Sydney should... they'll start making their run for finals now. So...
I wouldn't go as far as backing Geelong to win, but I think it'll be closer than lots of people expect. I mean, Sydney's form has been a bit up and down, actually, for the past couple of weeks at least. I mean, they got absolutely hammered by Hawthorn. They got belted by West Coast, then smashed Adelaide. So, yeah, I don't know. It should be another decent match. Hopefully not the same as last year when Sydney won by 110 points or something.
Can I categorise that I'm second to last on the footy tip? So
You are.
I am deplorably bad.
I might tip the opposite to what you tipped then.
So whatever I say, pick the opposite because I'm a garbage tipster in 2015.
And who's going to win the Priority Pick Cup?
Yeah, Brisbane, obviously. I think the umpires are going to win. There's actually going to be more umpires on the field than players.
It's going to be a win for football, just in general. Football's going to be the winner. In front of probably 410 people at the Gabba, it's going to be harsh.
There'll be 450 at least, mate.
No, true. That's true.
Yeah, and their half loads are umpires supporters, aren't they? They're flying the umpires' families over for the game to celebrate the 4 umpires on the field.
Well, imagine if that was at Adelaide Oval, they'd end up with a negative crowd.
After their adjustments. Did we ever find out what those adjustments are for?
The adjustments are staff. So I raised the question with someone at the AFL, and they said that Adelaide Oval's the only ground where the staff sort of key themselves in the same as supporters in the same gates. All the other grounds, they go through their own separate gate.
Right.
So then they work out how many staff were on that day, and then they take that off the total.
That's a bit odd, isn't it?
Fair. Do they do it for the Crows games as well, do they?
Yes, they do. Yeah. But it's the only stadium in the country where that actually happens. So
I'm pretty sure there was one of our less important game or less attended games that had 1,000 staff on, and then against Hawthorn we had 800 staff on or something.
Yeah, it's all a bit weird.
Sense.
No. It's all very strange. Classic Adelaide, really.
Yes, we do things differently over here.
We do. That's right. And on that note, I think we'll end this podcast.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming on, boys.
No worries.
Yes. I'm surprised you didn't mock me, Macca, more.
I'll take my chance now then. I have to admit, when I was watching the toss, I'm like, who the hell's that guy in the pink shirt? He doesn't look Aboriginal or anything. What's he doing out there?
I guess so.
Yeah. Sure enough, when I get home, I see that it's a fishing rig. Bit of a surprise.
There's a great photo by a very nice guy on Facebook, Ian Fagan, and he takes footy pictures every week, and so he took this whole bloody ream of bloody pictures of me out in the middle, and there's one there where, because he was on the eastern side, and so Chamberlain's obviously signalling to go toss up the coin, but from the rear angle it looks like that he's grabbing my ass, and it was a very exciting moment. I think that's how I got
lovely.
the high coin toss in the air. It was hey, what's going on here? But oh, I thought you would have mocked.
It was a
me
good toss, mate. Did you practice? Did you practice your action before going out there?
I didn't need to. I mean, I've tossed a few coins before and many other things.
Well experienced tosser. That's good.
I'm a very experienced tosser. That's very true. I used to like 2-up in my day. I was hoping I could take a 2-up paddle out there.
The old double toss.
That would have been do a double toss. Increase the odds of variation. I thought you might have been mocking me about the ad that's on the radio.
Not at all. It's a very fine advert.
Oh, have you heard it? Have you?
I have.
No,
I have not.
You're doing better than me then. I haven't even heard it.
I've seen. Is it Woodville South Footy Club?
Oh, New Vision Oval. How cool is that?
I saw that on the way out of the game at Woodville the other week. The Magpies game. Yeah, I saw the scoreboard. And I'm like, what's that? That's Rick's business. Jeepers.
Yeah.
Exciting.
We're going high society. Woody South. There's a great amateur club, Woody South.
From Woodville South to Adelaide Oval in 3 years. That's the goal, Rick.
Yes, that'd be nice. Maybe I'll work on the game day village for next year.
Mm.
The New Vision Village. What do you reckon?
There you go. It sounds like a retirement home.
Yeah, that could be nice. All right, we'll leave it there then. Thanks, boy. I'll wear my salmon shirt for you more often.
Good work. Can't pair.
I'll get some salmon pants to go with it. You can call me Fishy.
I'm going. Can't the pair.
That's it.
Power!
Away by Michael at ground level. Here's a chance for Stevens. Stevens goes high and long towards the goal square. 2 on 2. Burgoyne almost brought it down. Here's James. He's had a marvellous game. He puts him in front. Brilliant goal. What a classic. Roger James gets his second.